Hey everybody, Kamikaze Avalanche here, and I want to show you, do a little tutorial about how I'm using a JSON file with an array of dictionaries to save my run history in my game. And what this does is I'm trying to capture the important details about every run so that the player can look back at it and see what their high score for a set of choices that they made played out. So let me show you what I mean, and let's dig in and let's start understanding the use case for how I'm implementing this. Alright, so I've set up my game here, and I'm right at the point where I'm about to hit the end finale boss with the final blow. So let me get ready and show you what it looks like when the player ends the run. Now, after they have a victory, they get a score that's compiled. And down at the bottom of the score, it shows who they faced off against, what class they chose, and what race they had. I want the players to be able to look back at this and see it. Now let me go back to the main menu, and I want to be able to show the players the high scores for each of the runs that they completed. So how did I do this? Well, let's dig into the code and let's look at it. So first things first, let me get out of the game so we can go into the back end. Meanwhile, just so that we can look at what the file is going to look like, if I come over here and I look at the user data folder, I have a score file that's here. And so the score file, I have this super large. It is an array of dictionaries. So you can see that it's got an array. It's an array because it's got the bracket opening it and closing it. However, within this array, it's a series of dictionaries. So here you can see one squiggly bracket. This is the first one. We have a comma separating it. We have the second run history, and then we have the third run history, all separated by commas. And as you can see in there, I've captured some data, the date, the finale boss, what mission round they went to, and in this case 10 indicates that they won the game, the job they chose, the race they had, and their total score, and then whether they won or lost. So this is what the save file looks like, and I don't really care if the player looks at this because they're just looking at the information anyway. If they want to go and modify this, they're only cheating themselves, so I really don't care about that at all. Alright, so let's go into the nuts and bolts of how this is going to work. And the next thing we need to do is we need to set up the array of the dictionary format. So in my script, in my game, I've got two places where I interact with this save file. The first place is on the scorecard, and the scorecard is a packed scene that shows up when the player either wins the game or dies trying. So in here I have it, and it sets up and it shows that box that we had, and it does some of the counting animation for that. And in here at the top I've set up a variable called score data, and I'm just leaving that as an empty array when the scorecard is first brought up. When the scorecard comes up, it's going to plug in all the details because I need to generate the score, and then it's going to animate it. But after I do that, I'm going to pull up the current save file. So I'm calling this function load current save file. What it's going to do is it's going to check if the score file exists. If it does exist, we're going to open it to read it, and we're going to pull out all that information, and we're going to bring out a parsed result, and we're going to get that save file as text and then put it into JSON, and then I'm going to take that and fill in this variable, right? This is this score data variable. So I'm putting that into the score data, and then I'm going to try and save game. So if the file doesn't exist, it's not going to pull it out, it's just going to move to the save game function. Alright, so for the save game function, we're going to create a new file access. It's that same score file.save, except now we're opening it to write it. We're going to generate a JSON string, which is going to be our dictionary that we want to save, add it to this score data. So we jump into this function, and then here I'm going to create a saved dictionary. So I'm generating a new variable right here, and I'm creating the dictionary, and I'm creating a bunch of keys. So you can see here the keys I have are total score, whether they won or lost, the finale, their job, the race, the mission round, and the date. In there, I'm matching those keys to what the score was. The Boolean of whether they won or lost, the finale boss, the player job, all of that information. So I'm gathering that up into one dictionary. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take this new saved dictionary and I'm going to add it to the front of that array. So I'm taking the score data array and I'm pushing this saved dictionary to the front of it, so it's the first one that's read. And then I'm returning this score data, and then because I am returning it, it's being put into this JSON string after I've stringified it, and then I'm saving it to the score file.save. So here in this scorecard, I'm generating the score, I'm gathering the information, I'm adding them to a dictionary, and I'm reading from the current save file, and then I'm inserting the current run's data to the front of that array. Alright, so if we look at our steps, right, we've set up the format of our dictionaries and the array, and we programmed the saving function. So the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to use the data, right? So let's look at the loading function for this. Alright, so where I load it is I have the score history, and right now this just is a blank panel container with a header, and it's got some formatting set up all over here. Inside I've got the box for the run container, or a scroll container, because I want people who have lots of runs to be able to scroll through them, and I want to put all of the scorecards that we're going to generate into the run container as additional entries. So let's look at the way I'm loading this and using it. So here you can see in the setup of this script, I'm using the same variable score data, and I'm preloading a scene that just displays the information from one particular run. So I want to take each of those dictionaries and use each of those dictionaries to generate a little small, thin top panel of that particular run. All right, so when the player opens the run history, it's going to come in and it's going to read the save file. All right, so we look at the save file. If the file exists, we're going to continue on, else I want to kick out of this function, right? I could probably do that a little neater in one or two fewer lines, but this gets the job done effectively. So if that file exists, we're going to open it for reading, and we're going to get the result of that, which is this save file, so this score file.save, and we're going to save it as text, and we're going to parse it as a string. And then just to keep things a little bit neater, I'm storing it as a variable, and the reason why I'm storing it as this variable at the top is so I could troubleshoot it and look at it later, but you could probably just use this parsed result. Now, here, because it's an array of dictionaries, I'm doing a for loop. So here, I've got for run in scored data. So for each of those dictionaries in the array, let me pull those out. So this will be the first one. This will be the second one, right? And this will be the third one. And it could go as many runs as you had. It'll just keep adding to this file and pushing the new run to the front. So for each of those dictionaries, I'm going to instantiate a run card. For the run card, I have it display different numbers or pictures based on the information from those keys that are in the dictionary. So here, I'm looking at next run card dot did win, right? And where did we see that did win? We saw it up. We're creating it here when we saved it. So the key is one loss. So if one loss, if it's true, we're going to save that as did win in the scorecard, right? Same thing, next run dot finale faced equals run dot get finale boss. So it's this dictionary dot get, and then we get the key. And it's assigning each of those key values to each of these variables in next run card, and then I'm going to instantiate it and add it as a child to the run container. So if we look at the score history, I'm adding each of those runs as a card or run card to this vertical box container. Let's take a look at this run card while we're at it. Control click, and this is got a nice little script. It just has a bunch of variables, and it goes through, and when it loads up, it takes a look at each of those variables to decide what to display to the user. So the end result of this, we saved the data when the player completed a run, win or loss, and we're looking at each of those dictionaries, and we're displaying a card with the information. There we go. So that's how I was using an array of dictionaries to save run history to later show to the user. Hopefully you learned something from this. You picked something up and you learned something. Other than that, have a good day and have a good one. Take care.